Butterfingers. Hello, hello, hello. 6 p.m. in the Pacific. How's my hair? On Friday, the 17th. Oh my goodness. What? Oh, we're not live? Are we live? Okay, we're live. That was confusing. What's telling me? Oh, that was just for X. Okay, so now we're live across the board on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, which I'm a newbie at. I've done X a couple of, or when it was Twitter. I've never done X since it's been X or since like 2020. Anyhow, I was guided to get on X. Whole new platform that I'm streaming to, and YouTube, my new YouTube channel, the We Are Healing podcast, live podcast on YouTube that still only has like 18 subscribers. So people, please subscribe over on YouTube as well. I really appreciate that. Let me actually get the link. Well, you know what? The links for all of the the links for every other platform is in the description of this podcast, of wherever you're watching it from. So whether you're on my Facebook or my YouTube or on X, except for on X, I don't think that there's any capability to interact with me, which by the way, thank you for the hearts. Please. Yes, I love hearts. Likes, whatever. I appreciate it. I don't know if it's who's who unless you comment. So please let me know that you're here. And same goes for the replay. If you're watching this on a replay, leave comments. Let me know that you watched the show. Chris, hey Chris, welcome. Nice to see you. I'm glad you could join. Have you been at my podcast before? Sorry if I don't remember, because I know that I've seen your name places. I just am not sure if I've seen you here on the podcast, or maybe last week. Refresh my memory. Heartlight Journeys. Hello, my name is Bo. Hi, Bo. Welcome. Who else is here? Tell me who else is here. I took off my rings earlier. I'm going to put them back on. So that's what I'm doing here. Putting on my rings that I took off earlier for whatever reason. Maybe I haven't had them on all day. I don't think I've had them on all day. All three float. I float around. All three you float around. Okay. Oh, you mean on the different. Maybe that's why. And people have different names on different platforms. So unless I know that it's the same person, like if you have a totally different name, I wouldn't know that it's you. But so far, see, and the other thing is that I don't get, and I forget I can share. I forget that I can share comments here. I remembered pretty quickly though that time. So again, welcome everybody who's watching. I appreciate you being here. It is Friday. Can you believe it's Friday already? Oh my God. We are officially out of our Stargate, our May Stargate, and what a doozy it's been. Let's get right to it. I was thinking that, it's kind of going to go with the territory that I do an energy update on these live podcasts because, it just makes sense. It's what's going on. Not something that's going to take up a half an hour, but just quick kind of, we've had whatever's like the highlights. The highlights most recently are major solar activities in the form of mostly really high class M and X class flares, solar flares, and CMEs. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Speaking of which, I'm going to get to that in a second. Excuse me. I'm brand spanking freaking new. So hello, everyone. Well, good. I love that. Heartlight Journeys. Bo. I was going to say, I don't remember seeing that name before. So I'm glad that you found me on Facebook. However, you just found me. Here, this is my third episode of my live podcast. And forgive me if I'm a little brain dead and I get a little distracted at times. It's been a lot of energy coming through, like I was about to say, before my sneezes interrupted me. Tons of solar activity with Gaia and her Schumann resonance, and just a shit ton of light codes coming through. We've been, and it basically started right like in the Stargate, and we have monthly Stargate. So the one in May is from 5/5 to 5/15. But those energies carry after and before these dates. And once we get past this one, this is like the one that like really we start to get into the more intense months of the year, which is the back half of the year. May is always the one that kicks that off. I talked about that in several posts and I think videos prior to that. So I talked about this in my private Awakening Empath group. Like, I knew it was going to be intense. I wrote about it. I channeled about it. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, this is on a whole other level. All the channeling came through, which was about really the light massively doubling down and quadrupling down on the ascension and light codes that were going to be filtered in to counterbalance what was going to go down with the push from the dark side, with fear-based and a lot of programming stuff. So that's what all this has been about. It's been over a week since it became very clear that this was going to set off people in a really big way. And I made a post that got a lot of attention about ascension symptoms. Basically, don't confuse your sneezing and sinus issues with allergies when this is about your third eye receiving UV light codes. A lot of people responded to that, especially in the Schumann resonance group that I'm pretty active in and where I posted it. It's almost at 800 likes of that post and a shit ton of comments about how people don't usually get allergies, but start to feel this way. And there's just so many, is a lot of that. Also, people reporting chest stuff like coughs and stuff, but not as much. If you were already experiencing moderate ascension or detoxing energies or symptoms like sinus stuff or chest stuff, that you would definitely have more of that coming through, but really it was concentrated in with the third eye and the crown, but mostly the third eye. And the activations with the pineal gland and what it was going to do with detoxing. And when we get a lot of stimulus in the third eye, we will get irritated. It's connected to our eyes. It's right there with our sinuses. It will cause like these big releases in fluid and just the tickling of all of that. It is different than allergies in the way that, or in terms of just how it behaves. Their symptoms are similar: sneezing, watery eyes, nasal congestion, runny nose, postnasal drip, irritated throat, these types of things. But the difference with allergies is that it's just consistently you're feeling it. It doesn't come and go unless you stop. Like if you take medication, then maybe it would come that way. And maybe sometimes even depending on the severity of whatever you're allergic to. And if it, like, how that kind of transpires over time, But for the most part, it's pretty consistent. Whereas with these symptoms that are specifically going on with your third eye and causing you to feel those things and have those reactions, is that it comes in waves. And for the most part, and you don't get the itchy eyes. You don't get the tingling in the face like you would with allergies. So there's some distinct differences, for sure. But like, I've been dealing with this for over a week now, and just from experience know that that's not allergies, even though it can kind of feel like it because it's the time of the year. This is very similar if you have allergies. If you don't have allergies, it can be really confusing because you're like, I never had allergies. And people go, oh, that's what that is. And it's not. So taking over the counter medications, anything that's going to suppress the process, is something to definitely avoid, because you want to receive these light codes. You want the third eye to do what it needs to do. And it's going to tickle, it's going to release, it's going to do whatever. It's very intense there. And you just have to work with your body, do as much other maintenance and detoxing consciously that you possibly can to help the process. Lots of baths or showers, lots of outdoor time, lots of sunlight, as much as you can take. But that's another thing that people are experiencing, me included, which is sensitivity to light and sensitivity to sunlight and sensitivity to being in the sunlight. Like, you can only do it for short or certain periods of time. Some more than others, but you do need to be outside and grounding and receiving from the sun directly, or just being outside if there isn't sunlight where you are, if it's overcast or whatever. But regardless, it's just really important. If you're having severe symptoms, then seek energy healing. I'm available. Let me know what's going on with you if you need some energy healing. With that said, I am going to segue into letting everybody know that I have updated my services on my website, infiniteempathtransfigurations.com, or just infiniteempath.com. And I have greatly lowered some prices. I have taken all of my services off of Facebook, because the app doesn't work half the time or most of the time lately, and it's become a real problem. And so I've been meaning to put the services, all the ones that I had exclusively for Facebook. I had other ones that were kind of similar but different on my Facebook. On my website. And I was just guided to just consolidate and put everything, take away a few things, and add a few things and change a couple of things. So all of those are now available on my website. It's not working on Facebook for some reason. I don't know why. Hold on one second, guys. It worked on YouTube and it worked. Oh, maybe it did work on Facebook. That was confusing. Anyway, I did it again. There you go. So, and a lot of the services are donation based. There's a minimum donation. There is a minimum to book. And I do book about a week out at this point, depending on schedules. So, whatever you do, really try to avoid taking any kind of medicines or over-the-counter medicines that are going to suppress your symptoms, because the body is needing to release. And a lot of times when we think there are colds and flus are actually what we call spontaneous detoxes. This is when the body gets overloaded with negative energy, is out of alignment and out of flow, and the body literally goes, we're going to clean things out. And it is contagious because once you do that, if you ever notice, after you get over being really sick for a week or two, whether it's cold or flu or whatever they want to call it, whatever we want to call it, once you're done with that, you usually feel like almost 100% of the time you feel much, much better than you did before you even got sick. And this is because you've released a ton of energy in the head and the throat and the chest and the gut and the butt, So it's a natural way that the body releases and dumps a bunch of energy. And once you do that, you're at a higher vibration. All the things are working better. And kind of like when we yawn and we get more oxygen to the brain, another person goes, oh, I need more oxygen to my brain too. And so it's contagious. We yawn. And so it's the same thing. My body releases a bunch of negative energy shit. My body raises its vibration. I get in better alignment. I have more energy to do me and be in the world. And everybody around me is like, oh boy, look at that. Pops off, pops off, pops off, pops off. So then this way, people in the nucleus, whether it's home, whether it's school, whether it's work, are benefiting from a higher vibration from everybody around. Now, if we have constant high levels of stress and anxious, nervous, fearful energy, people are going to fill up much faster and get sick much more sooner. And if we're also introducing medications into the mix, that's going to be part of the problem as well. So there's a lot of factors here, but that's basically how that works. So anyway, when we introduce medications to the process, we're shutting down what the body is trying to do, which is release negative energy through these natural processes. So use homeopathic and natural remedies to help with breathing, to help with congestion, and whatever it is. There's regular medicine comes from nature to begin with. So let's just start there. Use things that are natural, work on clearing and helping the body do what it needs to do. And hey, Adrian. And it's both of you. Hey guys. Hey, Karen. So yeah. All right. Enough of that. You let me know if you have any questions. Let's see. Jason is here. Hi all. Hope everyone had a loving and peaceful day. Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good. That's me with my, that's a long, I mean, it's for clicking. It's in the comments where you can get to my services and check out what is available. And then Adrian and Karen saying hi. Okay, cool. Don't forget to like or love this live, people. I appreciate it. Okay, so back to the energy update and we'll move on. So we continue to have a lot of activity from the sun coming from different regions. Now that the sun has moved and turned over the last week, we're getting a whole new set of energies after the Stargate that are coming in. And just expect more, but maybe a little different. Take real inventory of what happened between the 5th and the 15th. I posted recently kind of questions to ask yourself, assessments to make about that, to really understand the shifts and changes that are going on. And really things could be moving so quickly and things could be quite dramatic, and there could be a lot to process that we just kind of filter out too much. And making those assessments for yourself and reminding yourself of what's going on really helps anchor and ground in your current and new forming timelines, which is what happens with Stargates. The other thing that I want to talk about real quick as far as symptoms goes is, and I'll try to make this brief, this is something that I wrote about it recently. I haven't experienced it in a couple of years, but given what we've been dealing with, this is something that can also happen along with this detox and receiving, integrating, and all this stuff that we're receiving through our third eye, mostly. Which is, with all these light codes, you have to think of it as literal energy and light that we're processing through. Everything is light, everything is energy. So the explosions from the sun are carrying these, it is our star, it is our center. It's where everything that is of creation and divine filters through. And it's very potent. We know that. And when it's as potent as it has been, or not even a quarter of what it has been, it can really affect us in all sorts of ways, especially those of us who are awake, conscious, going through our spiritual awakening process, which is infinite. And one of the things that can happen is you can have skin eruptions that mimic bug bites or hives or rashes or all of the above. They will usually come in pairs. Either you'll get one on this side, you'll get the same one on this side, or they'll be right on the chakra. I've literally had them I've had one right here. I've had them here. I've had them here. I've had them also on my legs, on my body, like front and back. So side to side. They could be big, very big. I had one on my hand chakra on the back of my hand, like 5 years ago, that literally took up the whole hand. Like my entire hand was swollen. They can be in kind of constellation shapes. They can be super tiny. They can fill with blood or fluid. They can look just like a mosquito bite. But they have no outside influence as far as like a bite or a sting. It's literally the energy is so much that's coming through. It's coming up, like the body is just processing and lifting up. And there is a threshold where you can try to keep up with that. A shit ton of energy work, meditation, grounding, clearing, receiving, crystals, baths, whatever, exercise, plant medicine. But there is a threshold where the body is it's going to happen. So if that's something that you've experienced, and you're perplexed, it's a good chance that that's what it is. They burn, they itch, and what I found with them, though, interestingly enough, is that even if they appear to scar, they will fade and go away, and it'll look like nothing was ever there, versus a scar that you do get from an actual like mosquito bite that is a scar. It's very odd, even though you may even scratch that eruption the same way you would scratch a mosquito bite, which I've done these things. I also attract mosquitoes, and I'm also allergic to them. So they can be pretty gnarly. I have a brand new scar. I don't know if you guys can see that right there? That's from a mosquito bite from like a week and a half ago. There's a big distinction. Like if you have them next to each other, like that's a mosquito bite, that is an eruption. They do look different, but they, again, there's only so many ways for our bodies to feel and act. So we go, well, this feels and acts like a rash or an allergy or a bite. It's like, well, yeah, but it's the same. It's not coming from that. It's coming from the inside. It's coming from another source, just like I was talking about with the other stuff. and it's up to us to know the difference and to work with ourselves accordingly. So that's another thing that that is definitely possible during these really heightened times of energy like we have going on right now. Okay, so that's just going to continue as we move forward in different ways. As far as the activity with the sun, we are in a solar maximum. It's turning out to be, or at least it's looking like it's an 11-year cycle, but we're in the 10th year. However, this is what happens in those cycles, unless this is just gearing up for even more next year. But from what I understand, this is what's happening earlier. It's happening for 2024, and it's going to really start, it's this push to, for higher consciousness, for our awareness and connections and clarity. If we have clarity, then that helps pretty much all the things in our life. The more clarity we have, the less stress we have, the less confusion we have, the more stability we have, the happier we are, the higher vibrational we are, the better, higher timelines we're living. You know what I mean? It's a whole chain reaction here. Just when we have better clarity, and the clearer we can get means everything gets so much better. So, even just having the awareness and the connection with yourself to make clarity a priority and an intention will help create the atmospheres for you to get more clarity. Bo says, I can't handle more. I know. The idea is we got to rest a lot. We really got to listen to our bodies when we're dealing with all of these physical reactions to the light codes, and just know, it's our medicine. It's what we need. The more you lean in, and the more that you're just like with your body and taking care of your body and loving your body, not being angry or upset at it, because we can start to resent and get angry at our bodies, which is real resistant type energy. It's tension that we have within ourselves that will make it so much worse, because everything then constricts in the field, in the systems, in the chakras, in the bodies. There's a lot of shit going on here. a lot of shit going on here. And if we tense up or get upset and get frustrated and start resisting what's going on, it just makes it so much more uncomfortable. It's so much better to surrender, to lean in, to just go with the flow, do the best you can to take care of yourself and master your frequency. Take, not allow being uncomfortable, whether it's physically, energetically, emotionally, mentally, not allow that to shift the awareness as to why it's happening to begin with, and be grateful for the process. It's not happening to everybody. And that's because not everybody is conscious and awake and going through their awakening. And for those of us who are, it's happening more and more. So that's a beautiful thing. It's a magical thing, something to honor and revere and acknowledge, and be gentle with ourselves, patient with ourselves, patient with our bodies, know our limits, really have firm boundaries about what we're doing, and limit the slices of the pie. That's what, what's all part of the pie that we're taking energy from and giving energy to in our world. especially when we're going through challenging upgrades and downloads and activations and healings and remembering and connecting. And it's a lot of shit, man. We gotta really nurture ourselves, take care of ourselves, like we would, anybody who's in a transformational process. That's what we're doing. I'm high vibe, but my wife isn't, and she was suicidal last 2 weeks. I'm in it. I'm taking care of me. It's just all this around me. I get it, honey. That's rough. That's rough, Bo. Sometimes though, those types of events are the catalyst for an awakening. And if you're already awake, then, that is rubbing off on her. If she's in a battle because she's got a parasite that's messing with her, then that's something that needs to be dealt with. It's not just going to go away. Just FYI, it's not just going to go away. And most of the time people are, she's really, truly suicidal. I'm not, I'm just saying, anybody who's really, truly suicidal, has a parasite that is causing them to be that way. I hate to kind of break it to you so bluntly, but that's the way it works. It's the way anybody who's a narcissist has a parasite. Anybody who's heavily addicted has a parasite. Anybody who is abusive has a parasite. It's not the natural condition of humans to hurt each other or hurt ourselves. And when we do that, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, we do that. That means there is an attachment that is causing the person to behave in the ways that they do, to create negative energy, to create certain outcomes, to hold us back, to confuse us, to whatever the fuck they need their negative energy for, on top of holding us back from awakening or ascending or whatever. This is real. This is absolutely a real thing. Heartlight journeys. Oh, that's a lot on top of a lot. Yeah. He says, yes, you got it. Bingo, you got it. Yeah. I hate being right. I hate it. I wish this wasn't the truth, but the fact of the matter is that it is the truth. It's the reality that we live in. And, there is definitely certain situations where we spiritual bug spray kind of enter Infiniti. That's who I am. The walking, talking spiritual bug spray. Oh my God. Okay, so back to the serious topic. There are several different types of parasites that attach to people, and we can have more than one. We can have basic lower level parasites, and we can have very sophisticated parasites, and there's ones in between. There's some that people can get rid of on their own if they wake up and kind of see what's going on. Sometimes people can get over an addiction, but and this is something I just saw recently, where I have a client who was a real serious drug addict. She got sober, but still had a shit ton of issues with just being very stuck and depressed and unable to do the things that she wanted to do. And so what happened is that this bug that she has had, this bug that she had, she was able to get it on the outside of her, but it was still connected to her. So she was able to break free from the one main directive and program that bug had, that parasite had. But it still was with her for so long and so intertwined. I mean, the tentacles, the energy tentacles went on and on and on and on and went through her entire body. It was wild. It was really interesting to see how this thing was there in a different way than it had been. And then we have like the puppet master parasite for that narcissists all have. That one is much more powerful and much more sophisticated than even these just addiction ones. When I say just, it's because those ones, they can eventually, if somebody is, doing like exactly what my client's doing, connected enough and guided, awake enough to be guided to somebody like me to help her, and all of these things, then these things can happen. But with the narcissist puppet master parasite, it doesn't work that way because it has such control over the person that it will not allow the person to understand that there is something there, which is very unfortunate, because that's why it's always like a narcissist is kind of constantly creating their own reality and changing history and believes their lies, and to them they're not lying, and it's because they're totally possessed. Basically, it's a form of possession. That in reality, theoretically, I could go and eliminate that, remove that entity. But I can't do something like that if the person's not on board with that. So you can't go and get into somebody's, well, the dark little parasites can, but because on some level there was consent there. On some level there was consent there. Let me make that abundantly clear. On some level there is consent there. There's a door open in some way, usually fear. And there are different parasites that will use fear to come through, to attach. It just really depends on what is all in play and when all this happens. And so most of all, narcissists had some type of situation like that when they were little, very, very young, where this came in and connected and has stayed with that person for a very long time. Essentially, they are one. And it sucks. It's not, because there is no way around that. They're in a house of mirrors, and it's just like it's impossible to even have a normal relationship with those people. Imagine trying to convince them that they have a parasite that it's just, and that parasite itself is going to tell the person that it just is around and run around. But there are other parasites that are not as strong, and the person is able to push through. So, like I said, theoretically, if it's just talking about, detachment, that's one thing, but the person themselves needs to understand what's going on there. If they don't, then the process doesn't work. Okay. Those parasites are there to keep your vibration low and feed on your light. Yeah, you and everybody around you. Makes total sense, he says. And I think the more you are powerful, the more you get sophisticated parasites. Yes. So depending on, If there's been a parasite, like an addiction parasite, that's been very effective in keeping you ineffective, then that works. If you've been able to naturally fight them off or whatever, you didn't take the bait with the narcissist, puppet master parasite, maybe everybody else. I have a client who literally everybody else in her family is and did get taken except for her. And eventually she did get infected, or she did get possessed, infected, possessed, same thing, by one through a rape. And it's a very sophisticated, like, they didn't give up. Like, they tried in several different ways to get her parasitic, to her to be a host, and to literally to this extreme. And that parasite is very, very sophisticated, to the point where it could take her through when the veil gets thin at times, it will take her through time loops and confuse the shit out of her, because she'll be in one timeline and then in another timeline. That's very sophisticated. Another one of my clients was convinced that the whole thing that's going on and her being controlled and stuff is AI, and it's all simulation, and that it's not a spiritual war, that it's not dark, and it's not the light and the dark, and it's all these things, that it's AI, and she's this is all simulation, and she's essentially plugged in, or part of this AI program, and really, this whole thing I had to work on. Sometimes it's about working with somebody to deprogram what the reality is, but the fact of the matter is, it's very difficult work, and it takes time and a certain finesse and strategy to it, because you're literally talking to the person who has the fucking parasite attached to them. And they don't want me there talking to them. They don't want me to do what I'm there to do. So it's the person fighting being controlled by the thing it's being controlled, and trying to deprogram what's been programmed in their reality. Imagine that. It's some wild shit, and it's the truth. And that's what's going on in the world. And these are the very things that, and why the light has doubled and quadrupled down on what was coming through recently, because the dark side parasites and fear programs that were going through that collective, that's attached and connected to all of everything that we can't see, has been, this is a real battle. This is a real war, where the two sides are very aware of each other to a certain extent. Of course, most people are not, but their guides and guardians and everything on the other side of the veil of the light is absolutely fully aware of the dark, how they're attached to us, how they, how that all works. And the dark is fully aware of us before we're even born. They see us lit up in our mama's bellies, and I mean, it's kind of, a little on the creepy side to know that there's a whole slew of dark business that knew all about us before we did, by decades for some of us. But that's the truth. But once we get to a certain vibration, we are unable to be attached to. Once we're conscious to a point, once we are in check with ourselves and connecting to what is actually there, and no longer resisting, no longer going, well, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. And, letting ourselves be aware of everything's in play, layer after, by layer, and understanding ourselves and energy. If we can really pull these things apart to a certain extent and allow our vibration to raise, our connection to get better, our abilities to be refined and get better and better and get more and more and download more gifts, more abilities, more talents. I've definitely upgraded many of those things over the last several years that I could not do my whole life. It is very matrixy where you could I've literally oh, now I can do a thing. Now I understand, or I remember I am actually practicing an astral. I'm doing all this work. We can absolutely level up in really big ways. So the spiritual war doesn't, go away. We're no longer, not under psychic attack, or there, it doesn't mean that the parasites don't exist. It means that the game changes for us, and how we need to maneuver, because now we're an active, not a passive player. So that means that we need to utilize all the tools and resources that are available, which means that we need to transcend a lot of the bullshit that we're attached to in a lot of different ways. So we can integrate, activate, upgrade, and connect effectively, efficiently, powerfully. Anywho, just another day. Philippe says, yes, you got it right. They're very creative. They're very creative. Very creative. Anyway, okay. So all of this is in play. It's not, none of this is coming through to upset or frighten anybody. Knowledge is key. Understanding what's going on for real only makes you more powerful, more aware, what's, the reality that we're living in. And it takes some getting used to process that, to get, to train ourselves, our consciousness, our perspective, our perception needs to kind of, it's like going to the eye doctor. Things need to get into focus again and again, because it's a new reality we're processing. It's not normal shit I'm talking about here. I recognize that. Trust me. I'm talking to the people who are awake and who can, see this for what it is, and really, it's not something to run from. And it's not that thing where it's like, well, just believe it. Everything is positive and you'll just have positive outcomes. That is what the dark wants. The dark wants you to say they don't exist. Or if I don't think about it, darkness doesn't exist. And if I don't believe in parasites don't exist. Really? Well, I don't believe in murderers. I didn't see them disappear. Why? Because they have dark parasites attached to them. Like I said, anybody causing harm on themselves or each other have parasites. When we hear of stories of people doing wild and crazy shit that even they go, I don't know why I did that. They have a parasite that's making them do that. That makes us all shocked and just, do or say or, violent, horrible things, and causes this literal bomb in the collective where everybody's like, hurt that, whatever the hell was that just happened. These are dark bombs going off. That's what that is. We see it as somebody being crazy, somebody being violent, somebody, whatever. We can attribute what it is. But whatever those things are that we call it is everything that the dark side wants us to know and think that they are. Because that hides the truth. But people don't like the truth, because if people go, oh, so there's these freaky deaky invisible parasites. I mean, I get it. That's scary. But isn't it better to be aware and a little frightened of reality, but know what's going on so you can rise above it and work to dismantle it, than just go, la, 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 la. I don't want to, hear this shit. I don't like it. It freaks me. No, nobody no, this is not fantastic shit here. It's not, but it is the reality. And once we go, yeah, you know what? Ascension isn't about just, rainbows and unicorns and all the, beautiful light things that we want to be magical. I mean, there's two sides to waking up that a lot of people don't want to see. And the dark don't want you to see it either. That's their biggest asset. We need to remember that. Their invisibility and our fear of their invisibility is what makes them so effective and so strong and to date, mostly unstoppable. I'm here to turn that around and work with people who want to turn that around. Oh, you're welcome, sweetheart. I get it. I joke with my guides that I need more tinfoil for that, because some days it's like, yep, that's weird. Yeah, no shit. Gabriella, is it possible that pretty much almost everybody has a parasite attachment? Yeah, pretty much everybody has one or two. A lot of attachments are what I call really basic, like little leeches. They look like leeches, which are very basic, right? They're a literal parasite that attaches to suck blood, suck energy. And most people, and I've said this for years, most people have one or two. And those unsophisticated we have to see this like it's like the infestation of energetic parasites just has been a part of this reality for many, many, many millennia. And it's almost impossible for people to live in our society. I'm not saying absolutely everybody has one or two, but I'm saying the majority of people have one or two. And it's easy to recognize that. Are you more tired than you should be? Do you have cravings you can't control? Are you on medication for chronic things? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to tell, like, people who have depletion, who can't get the system right one way or another, there's probably something in the system that's causing it to behave that way. And even if something that's a basic parasite that connects to, say, your solar chakra, your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your sacral chakra, your root chakra, they can connect to the third eye as well. It's not as common, but it definitely does happen. I've seen plenty of those too. They're just not as common. But anyway, when there is that, even just one of those, that means that the whole system's off. Because if one chakra, even if let's say it's connected to the heart chakra, right? You have one parasite's connected to the heart chakra. This is going to deplete your energy. It's going to affect your lungs, your heart. It could, heart chakra is all of front and back down into the lower torso, all of your, your lungs, your shoulders, your arms, your whole, like, all of this. That's a lot of space. And that it can, affect. But even if it's just there, if this is off, all of it is off, because the other ones need to compensate, especially the ones that are closest to it, which would be throat and solar. So if this is off, this is off, this is off. And if these are off, then those other ones are off as well. You see where I'm getting with this? So even if we have these more basic parasites, and even if it's just one of them, it's going to be depleting your life force energy. It's not only that, it's going to complicate your cords that you have, new and old. It doesn't matter. It complicates that whole system as well. So yeah, it's not unheard of for people to not have any. I have seen people that didn't. I have a couple, recent clients that didn't, and I have a few clients recently that have very sophisticated ones as well. It's kind of all over the place. Really depends on the situation. What's the difference between cords and parasites? Oh, it's a very big difference. I don't know what you mean, Felipe, by I think it's the most effective. Can you clarify that? And Jason, okay, so the difference between cords and parasites, very, very big difference. Energy cords are what we have connected to each other. So we have cords firstly with our parents and our siblings and our friends and our extended family and people at school and our teachers. Then, bigger social circle. And then we have our romantic partners. And then we have work people. We have outside social people. We have our neighbors. We have the people that we see just loosey goosey, in the neighborhood or, talk to or interact with, whether it's through work or social functions, more of a acquaintance type thing. Still there are, when we're, especially, those more acquaintance type ones, it's like when we're interacting, these cords are active. These are energetic cords that, like, when you think of the phenomenon of thinking of somebody and they call you, or vice versa, it's a perfect example of a cord in action, because that it's instantaneous. Or maybe you're thinking about somebody, all morning, and then, they call you because there's enough of that, you're pushing on their, you're getting their attention, so to speak. We have these cords. Of course, they're stronger with the people that we're closer to, that we interact with, that we care about more. Those are going to be stronger cords, people that we've known and had relationships with for a longer amount of time. And cords don't die. They don't go away. So, the best friends that you had, or in cord, we could be corded to events. So that's what PTSD is. PTSD is an energetic attachment, an energetic cord to a timeline, to an event, or a series of events. It could be one of those things too. But typically one event where there was some great wounding to one or all of our bodies, and it creates like a literal wound, a tear across the bodies, a dissonance in the chakras that's associated with a specific event, and a cord is created. And this is why when we get reminded of that event, we're tapping right into the active cord. It's always there. It's just now we have attention to it, and we're feeling the energy that was there just as it was there and created 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. So if we understand PTSD and how that works, then we can see how when we had a relationship with somebody 20 years ago, and we broke up with them, it was a really tough breakup for whatever reason, or it was, mutual breakup. It really doesn't matter. But there was a serious connection there to some degree. And it stands out in your life. There is an active cord there that stays active your whole life, your entire life. This is why people just pop into your head. You'll start, thinking about them or dreaming about them or whatever, and you haven't. Where's this coming from? And all of these weird psychic phenomenon from people of the past, or even people we haven't met yet, because we can be corded to people we haven't met yet. Well, that's a whole other thing. But that's how the energy is or the information is transferred, right? So the idea is, and the understanding that every cord is cycling life force energy. So imagine cord. Imagine all, the different cords that we could have after you're been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years in your life, had serious relationships, had, you had, and everybody that we've, have been close to, whatever, we have these cords. So we have all of these cords, and all of those, just like any battery, the more that you're plugging in, the more energy is cycling out, the less we have in the center here in the battery. So that's less life force for us. So everybody has an abundance of of energy cords, way more than they should, by like 10 to 15 that are constantly connected to somebody else, that if they're not in your life anymore, there's a reason, and they should be cut. And when those are cut in a very loving, precise way, by the way, and I do have a course for this, that brings back life force energy, effectively completely rearranging your system every time you do that. So that's cord cutting. Cord reset is basically the same thing, but it's to do that with people that are currently and active in your life, because those cords get gunky, for lack of a better way to put it. The analogy that I like with cord resets is flushing the toilet, getting a whole new thing going on with our connections. Just helps with communication and intimacy, and just does wonders for relationships when we reset cords. It's magical. Okay. And then parasites are an entity of some sort that attaches to us, that is literally we're the host for. It's a parasite, and they can attach in different ways. I can see them. I know what they look like. They're not something you want to look at, but anyway, yeah, and that's all parasites are dark side. People refer to them as demons. There's a spectrum of what dark side beings are and their power. The cool thing about it is that there's way more that are less powerful and way less that are more powerful, but the ones that are more powerful have a lot of power. So, but that same thing goes for the light. So, that is the difference. I hope I answered your question. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. Okay, so he said, I think it's the most effective. I asked him to, I answered to Gabrielle about. I'm still missing that, but okay. I'm not following, but okay, Philippe. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Gosh, we've talked to, geez, I've been here for an hour talking about this stuff. Well, I guess it needed to be said. Again, I do offer, oh, Gabriella, it seems like we have so many parasites. Wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The problem is that most people don't know that they exist, or how to deal with them, or, it's just, we're really in the literal beginning stages of dealing with this on a conscious level. I'm one of only me that I know of. I mean, maybe there's other people who understand it to the level and can actually deal with it to the capacity I can, to effectively eliminate and remove attachments from people, which is a wonderful thing I absolutely love doing, and just generally helping people. But it is something that absolutely needs to be understood more and more and more by more and more and more people. And it's just, we're barely scratching the surface. I mean, we have come so far. So many more people are awake and conscious. So many more people are wanting the truth, wanting to, kind of seeing things. I mean, just more people in in the world and media, whether it's mainstream or otherwise, are kind of going, I think there's other things going on here besides, like, I think there's, maybe a whole thing with a spiritual war. I mean, people are starting to get clued into this stuff. And the only way for this to be known is to discuss it, to talk about it. It is not my favorite subject by any stretch of the imagination, people. Let me make that perfectly clear. The spiritual war and the dark side is not my favorite conversation, but it is necessary that people understand it. And I'm one of the very, very few who actually understand it, who is out in public, who does, not only sees it for what it is, but can affect it, can help people, can, get them out of that. So we have a long way to go, but it has to be this way. Yeah, Chris says it's important. It's very important. It's extremely important, because if we don't understand what the reality is, that there really is a spiritual war. There really is dark side shit that when we go, look at this person doing this crazy shit, whether they're in public office or a cop or Joe Schmo on the street or, whatever. And it's just illogical and nuts and against each other and all, and it's power hungry and narcissistic and greedy and messed up. Parasites attached to people, making them do this shit. That's what that is. And I wrote about this. I've talked about it recently. Fighting the dark is not fighting the dark. It's being the light and working with the light and not allowing our penchant for joy and love and light and positivity to cloud us from what is real. There are beautiful, wonderful beings of light. Yes, 100%. And they're so much stronger than anything of the dark. We are too. Unless we don't know about them. Unless they have us completely controlled and manipulated because we don't even know that they're there. Which is the case for most people. And it's a tough one, but we are moving forward. The veil is thinning. People are awakening. People do want the truth more and more. And that excites me. Anyway, okay. So enough of all that, unless we have any more questions, everybody. Again, thanks for being here. I don't know if you're here unless you put a comment in. So let me know that you're here. Don't forget to like or love. Subscribe, follow everywhere. Again, there is I want to share this real quick. Switching gears, Lev. Let's switch gears. Like I said, not my favorite topic, but something we all need to know, all need to talk, be aware of. So I was told at the beginning of the year, you're going to be guided to discuss and help and deal with this more. And I have. It's true. I've been working with a lot more people who have attachments, and I've been learning a lot, and I've been, so it's in my world. It is very real. But then I also meet people like the client I had yesterday. She barely had any negative energy around her, any negative energy in her entire home. Like the work that the angels normally do when they go in and work with people to clear out, their field and their whole, we start doing stuff like none of that needed to happen. She didn't have any attachments. It was like, oh my God, look at this. It was beautiful. It was so like refreshing. It's like, oh my gosh, like everything was so different about that healing because she didn't have like it was amazing. So, I mean, it's a rainbow. It's a rainbow. Anyway, there are the links to my Facebook group, you guys. Please join the pod Facebook group. I want to get that nice and big, and I want more activity there. I want people to engage. I want people to post. I want people to ask questions. This is meant to be at some point in the near future where I'm going to be interviewing healers, interviewing people who have had profound healing experiences, and just, getting this, bigger in these ways. So go ahead and join the Facebook group if you haven't already. Of course, follow me on my Facebook page as well, if you're on Facebook. And okay, now we've already been here for an hour talking about all this stuff, but let's get into the topic of what this podcast was supposed to be about, which is sex. Okay, so speaking of attachments and connections and cords, which is really great that we talked about all that, because that definitely plays a part here when we talk about sex. I need a drink before we continue. Whew. Get into our topic, people. The light and the dark aspects of sex and why it is sacred. Okay, so when we have sex with people, it is the most connected we can possibly be, other than a baby in a mother's womb. Clearly, we're literally connected to each other, and it's energetic, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, right? It's all of those things. And it's a lot of energy that we're connected to when we do that with somebody. We're not conscious of it at the time, but it's real. Oh my God, what the fuck I know. It's a transition. I know. Hold on one second. Let me let my dogs in, or my dog in. They've been outside for a while. Hi! Hi, babies! Hi. You guys. Okay. I know. I love you too. Okay. Yes, my puppies want to see them. Cora, come here. Come here, Papa. Look at that face. I love you. I love you. Yes, I'm still working. Yes. And then I've got my boy, who's even bigger than her. He's the regular colored shepherd. Hold on, bear with me. Black and tan, and he's a boy. She's also part wolf. She manhandles me. Yeah, I love her to death. Core dreamer. Yes, my love. Okay, so sorry about the interruption. You're such a good girl. I love you so much. Hi, Chacho. You're so much of a good boy. They're getting so much better at going out and patrolling and playing and being outside by themselves. It's really great. But they keep me on a short leash. Okay, so back to the subject at hand. I know. Puppies are a way to break up the topics. Yes, definitely. I agree. Shift in energy. Whew. Okay, so that sex energy is very, very potent. In fact, one of my current clients found me by having an experience, having sex with somebody, and then feeling a lot, having really bad dreams and feeling all this energy, and it, he's awake, and he was like, yo, I think I just connected to a bunch of shit with this person. And he was right. And he went online and he ended up finding my articles and finding me because of what I've put out there about this stuff. And but that's a great example. I mean, he really tapped in. She is a narcissist and really tapped into a lot that was, cycling there. And once you're connected in that way, you stay connected in that way, like I talked about before. And that's another thing to really, really consider when we are casual about our sex encounters and think it's no big deal and it's just a lot of fun. Well, you're literally plugging into them and they're plugging into you. And even long after the encounter, you're still plugged in to each other. So just take that in for a second, marinate in that, and think about, even if they're a great, fantastic person, do you want to be plugged into somebody that, is not active in your life in such a way, like it's not energetically efficient by any stretch of the imagination? So any relationship we had, especially sexual relationship, and even if it only lasted for one encounter, there's a cord there. And that cord is literally in the lower chakras. That's where it's going to originate. It can move through the body. Actually, cords do move. Not that it necessarily matters, because if there's a cord there, there's a cord there. So we want to, so there's that. And then we want to think about, when we commingle our energy, when we open ourselves up, whether you're male or female, whether you're having heterosexual sex or otherwise, when you open yourself up in this way and you connect in this way, it is mixed. That's mixing with, you're allowing this other than you energy to cycle in with you in the most potent, intimate of ways. And that will change your frequency and vibration. The state of mind that you're in when you're having sex is a vibration that you're going to be sending back and forth. So this is why different sex literally feels different. The lovemaking slow sex, the rough or angry sex. There's a lot of different flavors of sex, and the different types of energy that is connected to the different types of sex and how you feel about a person and how they feel about you. That is part of that cord. And the more sex you have with the person, this strengthens that cord and changes that energy dynamic between the two people. This is why people have, no matter what they say, casual, we're not going to get involved, not going to have feelings. Raise your hand if you've tried that. It didn't work. I'm screwed, literally. Nah, we can take her. You can cut cords. You can cut cords. That's hilarious. But that's why it doesn't work, because we get attached. I'm not going to get attached, but you get it. But you are attached. You just attached. That's how you have sex. And then you stay attached because you had sex. And once you've had sex, you kind of want sex from that person again because you're connected and you're thinking about the sex. Sometimes people want sex from people they don't even like. Interesting. Oh, I'll be in touch. You crack me up, Bo. You crack me up. Gabriella says, I'm glad we can cut cords. Oh my God. No shit, man. You know what? Let me tell you something. My entire life, before I was awake, now I was connected and I was psychic and I was woo-woo without being awake. You could totally be that. Totally be that. And most people are. But anyway, I always, because I am the psychic physical empath. I'm super, super connected. Like I connect and I love, connections, and I feel connections. And, a lot of us, empaths, especially psychic physical empaths, we like, and we're really, really good at sex because we are psychic. We feel the energy. It's like, roller skating or skateboarding or anything that's like, or anything that's like has a rhythm to it. Like once you read the rhythm of a person and of energy, you can have fantastic sex because of that, because of your just innate ability to feel what the other person wants and what feels good. And this whole thing back and forth, literally read minds, have a mind meld through the cord. The more psychic you are and the more psychic they are, whether you know it or not, is going to create that type of connection. So this is why we'll have like mind-blowing sex with some people, because of the energy. We're in resonance and it feels really good on a lot of levels. Plus we're connecting in a psychic way. That ups it by quite a lot. Anyhow, all of this means that we need to be, or should be, I'm not here to be preachy. I just am here to give messages about what's the best thing for us energetically, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You do you the way you need to do you. I'm not judgy at all. At all. But if we want to be as clear, as pristine, as vital that we can be, we're not going to just go and commingle sexually with whomever casually, like maybe we once did. I'm definitely in that boat. I definitely lived a life of casual sex because I enjoyed it. I didn't understand how energy could connect. If I could, I would. Oh, this is what I was getting to before. How, most of my life I was, asleep, but I would get, really attached and connected to people, relationships. Like, why can't I move on? Why can't I just stay away from? Why do I keep thinking about this person? Why do I keep going back? Why does it hurt so much? Why can't I just stop? Why do I keep thinking about them? Why do they pop into my head? Why can't I continue? Cords. It was just like, I didn't know those existed. And I would say to myself, if there was a pill that would just make you stop with that shit, just get over somebody, just be like, I'm done. We broke up. Let's just be done with it. That would be fantastic. Well, little did I know that the magic pill is actually cords. But they are. That's exactly what the magic pill is. If you have issues with moving on one way or another from somebody, cutting the cord will drastically change that. It doesn't erase everything, but it makes it exponentially easier to move on with your life, including to be able to forgive if that needs to be part of the equation. You don't forgive to cut cords. You don't need to forgive in order to cut cords. You can cut cords, and that makes it a lot easier to forgive. But cords are not about forgiveness. Cords are literally about being efficient and functional, and having the most life forces that you could possibly have, which means the least amount of cords, and the cords that you do have, nice and clean. So there should be some real discernment. Who am I commingling my energy with? Because that's going to change the entire system. Is this somebody that is worthy of being literally attached to me? Is this somebody I want to connect with on this level? And this is also the most potent creational energy that there is. There's a thing called sex magic, and it's not dark. It could be dark. It could definitely be dark, but at its base and most purest form. Sex, the magic of sex, is the creation of life. The boom of the orgasm is rivals like atomic bombs. The amount of energy that gets released. That's why it feels so good when we have orgasms, because we're releasing a shit ton of energy, and it's going through our whole chakra system, especially, the lower ones, which once that releases, then it recalibrates, everything. This is why people get addicted. Sex addiction is literally the addiction to the atomic bomb, which, anything in excess is a problem. Parasites, they will make you addicted to sex. If that's, sure, let's do it. Why not? Negative energy. That positive sex charged energy can be very, very negative. A lot of narcissist parasites like to use sex energy as well, negative sex energy. So they'll twist sex energy into different things. But it is so very potent. So if you're actually in union with somebody, like have this beautiful and like loving divine union with somebody, and you have sex on that level, really consciously commingling energy, consciously connecting chords, consciously working to harness those bombs, and directing them to each other and to whatever, in whatever, ways that you're guided to do, to heal yourself, to heal each other, to work in a divine way with that energy, because it's absolutely divine. Sex gets twisted into things that are something very, very dark in a lot of different ways, because it's so potent, because it's so powerful, because we're so inextricably connected to it. It's how we all got here. Right? I mean, so, it's a beautiful thing when that's the case. Otherwise, I highly suggest celibacy, because if you're not in divine union with somebody, then you don't need to be going there with anybody. You need to be directing that energy to you, to your ascension, to your healing. You need to be feeling what it's like to not open up and be all up in somebody and everybody all up in, or somebody all up in you, or multiple somebodies. When we're ascending, when we're, the name of the game is soul connection, guidance, guides and guardians connection and clarity, and all these things. What's going to keep us clear is whatever the least amount of junk we get up in our vessel, right? So this means clearing out the things that are other than us as much as possible. And whatever we do connect to, in whatever different ways we are connected outside of ourselves, that those things are as healthy as they can possibly be for us. This is why we're always guided when we spiritually awaken to literally detox our lives, eliminate people from our lives. Not saying that's easy. It's one of the hardest things we have to do, but eliminate toxic people from our lives, eliminate things that we're addicted to or connected to or have habits with, or, use, for entertainment or for food, or any of these different categories that we're entering into the body, anything that is of a lower vibration, or anything that's less than meeting us at our highest vibration that we are, or higher. The idea is, let's connect to what's higher than what we currently are, whether that's like spiritually or with each other, or, in nature or whatever. We want to go higher, not lower. So we need to take the time to assess who is higher and who is lower and who is worthy, and how this changes your timelines and dynamics, and how it changes everything when you go there with people. All right, I'm going to check in here on the chat. Gabriella says, if we've had casual sex with others we don't remember, how would we cut those cords? Is it still affecting us all though we don't think about them? Yeah, thinking about a person really doesn't matter. That's just an obvious way that we know that we're connected. You could, my dear, have long forgotten Joe Schmo from 5 years ago that you had a little tryst with, but Joe Schmo may not have forgotten about you. So he's got an active cord. It means you've got an active cord. So it's not about time. It's more about what is just the fact that, that was there. So what you would do in that case, like if you go, you know what, I have had through the years, whatever sexual partners, I may not even remember their name, or, maybe here or there or whatever. In those cases, we treat that a little bit differently. But you would still cut cords with them, even though it would be kind of more like, okay, if I know I have, from the summer of, whatever, 2012, I had sex with a few people and there's this, period or whatever. I'm just, making up a scenario here. It could be other things, but in any event, what we would do is do a batch and really kind of suss out. But here's the thing. That really wouldn't be like at the top of the list of your priorities when it comes to working with your cords. You know what I mean? Like, we go by priority. So in the course that I teach, the Unstoppable Empath, that is all about learning to work with your cords and how to do it. And do it for yourself, because it's something you have to do again and again and again. You work with greater priority right now. So the people that you don't remember, that aren't in your conscious memory and affecting you, even if okay, well, I had sex with, I maybe don't remember his name, but I remember the place and the time, whatever. I know that I had sex there. I mean, if you just completely don't remember a thing at all, then there's really nothing to connect to. Then effectually, that cord probably did come off. Maybe the person, they did their own cut, or, it doesn't matter. But the priorities are going to be relationships that are more current. And as you go through your list that you create, things start to shift and move around. Then things will come up sometimes and remind you. It's very magical the way that it works. Once you start working with your cords, it's a really magical process. And it shifts and changes you right away. So anywho, yeah, so it's not a telltale sign to say, I don't remember a thing or a person, and it mean that it's totally gone. It could just not be that active, but that doesn't change the fact that it may not be something more prevalent for the person on the other side either. Hola, Luis. Beleza. Bonita. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, wow, there's so much here. Oh, okay, Luis. All right. Okay. And I don't think did I give you guys let me give you guys the, link to read about my course for cord cuts. If anybody is interested, it's an awesome course. I do weekly meetings. We have a private Facebook group. I walk you through, I guide you through, and help you through the entire thing. as it goes, and it's only $35 a month. I practically give it away for $35 a month because it is such essential work that needs to be done, whether we're talking about the sex thing or not. So anyway, there's the link for the Unstoppable Empath course and membership. And then reach out if you have any questions, and there's webinars on that page that I go into all of this about. So back to the sex stuff. So this is where it comes in, where, the sex is sacred part, because we're sacred. Our energy is sacred. This is a very, very important thing to take care of, and to recognize that some things have bigger consequences than what we've been led to believe. And sex is one of those things. Aside from the implications that we already know about, when we see it from a spiritual standpoint, from an energetic standpoint, we can go, okay, maybe this is a time in my life where I need to start really shifting how I'm connecting, to other people and relationships, how I'm seeing things sexually. And if you are coupled up already with somebody, to maybe reevaluate your sex life with them, and what that, how you're connecting, and what that energetic connection is what's going on there. Is it stale? Is it stagnant? Is there friction? Is there tension? If there is, you're just cycling that, or you're avoiding it. A lot of people tend to avoid sex after a while because they're kind of past. It's like chewing on food and spitting in the other person's mouth, and chewing on food and spitting in the other person's mouth. I know that's gross, but it's as accurate as I can get to illustrate why eventually people stop having sex that are in long-term relationships, because it's gotten chewed up and back and forth and the same, and we're cycling energy that doesn't feel good anymore. So in that case, definitely an energy, cord clearing and energy work would be, I have a thing for couples that I suggest when you go through any big transition, like maybe been dating for a while and things just got, to the next level. Let's start on a new plane, or we just got engaged, or we just got married, or we just had a baby, or we've been together for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Like, there's certain thresholds where we need a good reconnection with the significant other. And it's like a dual energy work. But at the very basics, it would be a reset. And a more and better awareness of how to work with that sex energy to your benefit. And then we have solo sex and the magic that we can do through solo sex or masturbation, and in a very targeted way to help us clear energy, but not just the regular way that we would masturbate and just like, oh, I'm horny, or I need to rub one out, and I'm like, gotta, take care of myself here because, it's been a while. It's more like the way I was guided for myself, and the way to teach it. And, as short a period of time as I'm going to tell this, so I'm not taking up too much time with this, at least right now, would be to say that masturbation and orgasm is reserved for specific times. And it's not like, oh, every 3 weeks or every 6 weeks or every week or whatever that it is. It just would depend on what you have going on, when you're guided to use that energy to release, what it's going to be directed to, how you're, connecting to do that. It's a very spiritual thing as well, and really helps to reboot the system if you use it in a real effective, targeted way as well. So it's magical solo, it's magical with others, or it could be quite dark depending on what you're connecting to. So it could be very light, it can be very dark, and it's just something to be very aware of. And that one of the things that definitely happens when we begin to spiritually awaken and get conscious is like to feel like yeah, I don't want to just have sex with somebody that I just met. And I don't want to be casual if you have been that type, been in that mode of thinking. Um, and start to really understand what that's about, and wanting to keep yourself kind of clear from connecting to people in that way. So that's very, very common. That's actually why this episode exists to begin with about sex, is because I had seen a post about it. Somebody asked in one of the groups and said, is it common to all of a sudden through a spiritual awakening start feeling very differently about sex, and wanting to have sex or not wanting to have sex? And this person was going through these shifts that they hadn't experienced before. And it was like, yeah, it's very, very common. Actually, it's even common for people who are coupled up. I had a client who she didn't want it this way, but she was far more ahead of her husband. After she got really healed, she got really high vibe and very connected, and felt very, very like, I've got to really maintain my field, and really had no desire to open up and connect in that way with her husband for quite some time. And he was very understanding. Thankfully, he was very understanding, but she's just like, I can't. And I'm like, well, I can understand why. He's got things going on energetically that you don't want to connect to, and you're already connected, and you've already been connected for 10 years, and you share a life, and that's a lot. And she's like, yeah. And to go there, she's like, she's not that I don't love him, not that I'm not attracted to him, not any of those things. She's like, I'm just taking care of me. And I'm still processing and healing and rearranging and evolving. And I just know that that's just not what I should be doing right now. So it doesn't always necessarily matter if you're single or if you're in a relationship. This sex business is a really big deal. And it will supersede whatever other things you had going on, or ways that you were about sex. And lastly, what I'll say about people who are single, who are not coupled up, who, have been, wanting a relationship and wanting to couple up and, want that romance in your life. And I have talked about this many times before, but that is to send that energy inward to yourself, instead of looking for somebody on the outside to send that to connect to with that. If there's nobody there now, that means that nobody is meant to be there now. It's meant to be just you now. And the last thing that we're meant to focus on in our ascension is someone else. But that gets confused with this whole soulmate, and especially twin flame business that gets put out, and people fully buy into that. It takes over their ascension. And again, a dark side program meant to put people in chaos and distraction from what they should be working on, and focused and obsessed about a relationship or about a person that's, like, going to be it's going to be a soulmate, which I'm not saying that that's not powerful, but we have many soulmates, and virtually nobody has a twin flame. It is a thing, but it's so rare that it's not a thing for literally most people. But because it is a thing, people tap into the truth of that story, but then it's gotten shifted into this whole other thing. If you don't have that in play, good for you. If you do, please understand, I'm not here to upset anybody or burst anybody's bubbles about twin flames. It's again about the truth and what's good to know, because it has been weaponized. This thing has been weaponized. So anyway, if you are a single person and you don't have a romance, and you are a romantic person and you do want that, then work on yourself. Work on lifting and raising your vibration, and know that at some point when you do, you will intersect with somebody who is going to be really good for you, who is going to match you. energetically, who, you know what I mean? So, just have faith that whoever that person is meant to be, they're doing what they need to do. You're doing what you need to do, and it will work itself out when it is meant to, especially if and when you focus on yourself. And if you're somebody who's used to being coupled up, who's used to having sex, who's used to, being in that mode, then that is something truly that you need to work on and move in a different direction and cycle out those loops for yourself to be able to do you on your own without an attachment. That is really important. And trust me, it's a lot easier to do ascension. Ask Bo. It's a lot easier to do ascension when you're not coupled up with somebody, because it's hard enough just you. So be careful what you wish for when you're like, I want somebody, I want a romance, I need whatever, all that shit, because that's just going to complicate the whole process. People that come to me to work with me who are coupled up really have a lot more to contend with than people who don't. So consider yourself blessed to be a single person, to singularly work on yourself. And again, that divine union is with yourself. Romance yourself, fall in love with yourself. See what that feels like and do you. And then when the time is right, somebody magical and magnificent will come into your life that you can do that with somebody else. What is a twin? Oh gosh, what is a twin flame? It's this idea that one soul splits into two bodies, which is extraordinarily rare, but people get hung up on that. And it's not, not what most people think it is. And there's this whole industry and making money genre of people about twin flames, twin flame readings, twin flame healing, twin flame connection, twin flame spells, twin flame this, twin flame that. And it's all just nonsense and bullshit. And it's not real. Not saying that your connections with people aren't real, that we don't have soulmated soul family connections. It's the first thing you look. If you go to my website, it says we are soul family. I mean, the difference is that when people get stuck on that's the person that has half my soul and we're meant to be together in some way and get fixated and obsessed on that and can't do anything else with their life and ascension, that's an ascension trap that is established by the dark side. It's just another one of them. There's several of them that are injected into the collective as they're awakening to get them completely hijacked in their ascension. And they're effective. They're very effective. So just because we wake up doesn't mean that there aren't programs within the awakening process that can hijack us. And the twin flame story is one of them. So anyhow, I think I've gone over everything I was going to go over today when it comes to sex and sex magic. We're here so much longer because we got started so much later because we talked about all this other stuff that's very, very important, of course. I thank you all for being here. Is there anybody have any other questions about any of this stuff? Any of it at all? Thank you for all the likes and the loves and for being here. I really appreciate it, everybody. Don't forget that I'm here every Friday. We'll see I'm doing a poll on the group. We now have 163 members in our We Are Healing Live podcast Facebook group. Very cool. I put up a poll. Let me show you. So this is the podcast group. And this is the poll that I just put up, I think last night or this morning. When did I put this up? I don't remember. Yesterday. Oh yeah, late last night. So topics of well, we did kind of talk about dark side parasites today, didn't we? But anyway, you can vote here. It looks like crystals and working with them is the topic winning for next week. So feel free to get on it's a public group, so you're more than invited, and I encourage you to join us there and introduce yourself and take part in that vote. And otherwise, follow me on my Facebook page. I am the most active there. If you're not aware of one more thing I want to share with everybody before we go, if you're new to me, is my Medium. You can get to all of these links from my website, but here is the link to my Medium profile, where I have a lot of articles and stories and channelings all about ascension and spirituality and energy and all sorts of good stuff. So, and none of my new or all of my new published articles and channelings are not behind a paywall. And I think I've gone through most of my old ones and took them out from behind the paywall. So you don't have to pay to read my articles. There's a lot of good stuff there for you to take a look at. And I believe that is all for now. Again, my website, one last time for everybody, in case you have not been there, please check it out. Check out the newly updated offerings under consultations and services. And then I offer plans and programs for long-term one-on-one work with me and those groups. I have the Awakening Shaman group, the Awakening Empath Shaman group, the Unstoppable Empath. And then, one last thing I want to share with you guys is the Soul Quest program that starts in June. It is an amazing program to help in deciphering what we need to heal from, what are our blocks and triggers and programs. This is aside from cords we need to cut. This is healing we need to do, processes we need to get through, excavation of the self to eliminate as much negative, dense energy as possible and to connect with our souls as deeply as possible. This is something I highly recommend. It's a program that I channeled early last year, and it is absolutely magical. And I have that coming back here in a couple of weeks, and you can start that at any time. So check it out. I do have to update that page because I think it says we're going to have those meetings on Monday. We're actually going to have those meetings on Thursdays at alternating times. But otherwise, all the information is correct on there. All right, everybody, I guess that's it. No more questions. Thank you all for being here, for joining me here on this Friday night. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening or morning, wherever you happen to be in the world. Again, reach out if so guided, and otherwise have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you next Friday. Bye. See you later, alligators. Bye for now. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. Bye, everybody. Look at, they hear me say bye, and here's my dogs. I'm running. All right, guys. Bye.